ESPN just ranked every returning quarterback in college football, and Trinidad Chambliss is exactly where he should be. Well, almost.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're proud to be a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now it's the number one sports podcast network in America. That's because of fans like you taking in content like this, and we can't be more pleased with that. On today's episode, there's one issue that could quietly derail Ole Miss in a title run this season, and it's not injuries. We'll break down exactly what that is and why it can matter more than people realize. Next, we'll look at who the MVP is in this Ole Miss football team. Right now, it feels like Trinidad Chambliss, but make no mistake, there will be real competition for that honor. But first, ESPN ranked every returning quarterback in college football, and Trinidad Chambliss landed exactly where Ole Miss fans expected. Well, kind of. Near the top. Sorry about that, LSU and Georgia fans. It looks like Ole Miss is here to stay. All that and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube, and a special hello to the everydayers who make this show what it is. Your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into a bigger potential win with college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. So I've been talking to basically anyone that will listen about how Trinidad Chambliss is the best quarterback in the country. And I believe that wholehearted, full-throated. Trinidad Chambliss is the best quarterback in the country. Now, different mileage may vary to different people, and ESPN just ranked the top returning quarterbacks out of everybody in Power 4, and they had Trinidad Chambliss at number 3. He's coming in. He says they have a stat line with his QBR at 86.5 last year. He threw for 3,937 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 61% completion percentage, 13.4 yards per completion, and 600 non-sack rushing yards with 8 touchdowns. So he accounted for 30 touchdowns on the year, had nearly 4,700 yards of offense totally. He was the best quarterback in college football last year. Last season, he would have been in New York, sitting up there for the Heisman Trophy if he would have been promoted at all for the Heisman Trophy. It was all about will he or won't he go, Lane Kiffin going to LSU or Florida, that everybody did not pay attention to Kewan Lacy and Trinidad Chambliss. And honestly, if you want to be real about that, that's a large reason why they're here. If we're going to be real, the fact that they got put on the back burner over something else stuck with them. Now, they got paid and they're going to make a lot of money this season. But last season, both of them were in the top 10 Heisman candidate that was sitting out there. But Trinidad Chambliss is number 3 in the country. They said after what we saw in the college football playoff as he ran circles around Georgia, which he did, and came within inches of a spot in the national title game, which he did, it felt like Trinidad Chambliss' story should have one more act to it. And thanks to a judge in Mississippi, which it's deserved, by the way, he gets one despite the NCAA's protestations, which they're using him to get eyeballs for an antitrust case down the road. Go back and listen to other podcasts talking about that earlier about that subject. Chambliss was hard to pigeonhole last year. He's not a statuesque NFL prototype like C.J. Carr or Arch Manning. He's far more willing to use his legs than Julian Sayen, but he still looks to throw. Not including sacks, he averaged fewer rushing yards per game than Arch Manning, and Arch is great at it, but he averaged slightly more yards per drop back with fewer sacks and interceptions than Sayen. It might be difficult for him to replicate last season's success with his offensive line losing 3 starters. They're losing 2. That's a factually incorrect portion, but we'll just go with it for now. And perhaps even more importantly, his receiving core losing 5 of last year's top 6. But then again, he's dealing with far less change than he did a year ago when he moved up from Division II. So maybe he's so good that turnover around him does not matter. So that is what ESPN said about Trinidad Chambliss. And they're right, the turnover is there, but the turnover last year was much quicker when he got there in June. He had to be ready, and he was on the field for the Kentucky game in game number 2, and chemistry just developed. This year, he'll have all of spring, all of summer, and get ready for a more difficult schedule. And we're going to talk about the schedule a little bit in the third segment. A lot of people are worried about that. This is a better football team than 2025. I'm not worried about the schedule getting more difficult because the talent on the field is going to be greater than it was a year ago. The one-score games that Ole Miss won a year ago was largely due to Trinidad Chambliss being the quarterback, but also the fact that they were up by 10 points, 2 scores in the fourth quarter of all those games. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So if you look at what is happening, they say that Trinidad Chambliss is the third-rated quarterback. He's behind C.J. Carr, who threw for 2,741 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 66.6% completion, and he doesn't run the ball. Trinidad literally had better stats than just about all of that. C.J. Carr being the quarterback at Notre Dame, there's that old, hey, brand popping up and rearing its other ugly head. Let's see who number 2 is. Number 2 is Julian Sayen from Ohio State. We saw him against Miami not look good at all as the Miami Hurricanes were able to pick him apart. He did have a 77% completion rate, but he lost his offensive coordinator and lost most of his wide receivers, as did C.J. Carr. You have Trinidad Chambliss. Number 4 is Arch Manning, who had a very good close to the season after a disastrous start. You can see it starting to click, the light starting to come on for Arch Manning, which is necessary because Newman High School is not high-level football. Going from that to the SEC, it was going to take time. It did for Arch Manning, but it looks like it is. Number 5, Jaden Maeva from the USC Trojans. Number 6, Dante Moore. Number 7, Drew Mestamaker from Oklahoma State. He was the guy that was at North Texas a year ago. Good quarterback. Going into the top 10, that's a little bit of a jump, but he was very good at where he was. Number 8 is Gunnar Stockton. We all saw that in the Sugar Bowl. If it wasn't for Gunnar Stockton, Ole Miss would have won that game by 3 scores. Number 9 is Brendan Sorsby, who transferred from Cincinnati to Texas Tech. He is on the list. And whenever you look at what he did at Cincinnati, though, he was good, not great. So I don't know about the 9th rating there. Byron Brown, who transferred from South Florida to Auburn with Alex Galesh, he's going to be a really good quarterback. Darian Minson, number 11. Devin Dampier, number 12 at Utah. Josh Hoover, number 13 at Indiana. Number 14, the $40 million team, the LSU Tigers, Sam Levitt. Number 15 is Bear Bachmeyer. Bryce Underwood, number 17. Marcel Reed, number 18. Damon Williams, number 20. These are just players that were committed or played at Ole Miss. And Austin Simmons is number 44. The rankings are pretty good. I mean, they're very analytic. You know my saying that I did for 3 years, that analytics are just the old English word that means bad football. In a lot of cases, that happens here. If C.J. Carr was the top returning quarterback, Notre Dame would have made the playoffs a year ago. Period. If Julian Sayen was ranked number 2, they would have beaten Miami a year ago. They would have won a playoff game. They didn't. Trinidad Chambliss won 2 playoff games, including against the Georgia Bulldogs, with a miraculous performance. He should be the number 1 quarterback in all of college football. And the fact that you don't think that he is an indictment on you and not an indictment on Trinidad. Trinidad has a really tough game against the Louisville Cardinals, and the schedule is going to be a little bit more difficult. But the team around Trinidad is why Trinidad is going to raise up his game. Ole Miss lost both tackles. Not joking, that is a real thing, but Ole Miss brought in Carius Kern and Therese Davis. going over at left tackle, somebody that started as a true freshman at Maryland. If he didn't get hurt a year ago, how much would he have played? This football team is in very good position to move forward. And it's because ESPN rightly loves Trinidad Chambliss. Being the number 3 quarterback on the board is loves. That's not likes. That's not acceptable. That is loves. I think that Trinidad Chambliss is the number 1 quarterback in America. And ESPN rating him number 3 returning kind of justifies a little bit what I'm saying. My group isn't that far off. So that is pretty cool to see what happens. So when you think of the MVP of this Ole Miss team, what's the first name that comes to mind? Is it Trinidad Chambliss? But is that actually correct? We are not so sure. Now that's coming up next. Hey, what if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. If it's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in moments that matter. And Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but I never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are powered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered future commission merchant and swap firm. And it's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes as well, a lot. Still trying to book an appointment that's not the most inconvenient way to go about it. Sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they really get your situation. But this is the year you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with real tax experts, and documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's a relief of walking in and knowing that you're meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a local store near you and book your appointment. Hey, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you listen to and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. If you've been thinking about joining the Everydayer Club, now is the time. Again, you get ad-free shows and access to our group chat and Discord and all of that stuff and merch discounts. But if you signed up before the NCAA tournament tips off, you can get into our Everydayer Club bracket pool. You can beat me. You can challenge me and make me look like the fool that many people, according to the comments, thinks I am. So sign up for that on Discord for a chance to win Locked On merch. $100 of Locked On merch is available if you win. It should be a ton of fun. Right now, you can use the code MARCH to get your first month free. Head to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes. That's it. Sign up for the Everydayer Club. Use the promo code MARCH. You get a month free. Sign up for that, and you can get into the bracket challenge at that point to where you can potentially win $100 of Locked On merch credit. So that is pretty cool and something you can do. All right. So the MVP of this Ole Miss football team. It's an interesting question because everybody assumes it's Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, look at his numbers. It's absolutely nuts. He was 294 for 445, 3,937 yards, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He ran for 8 more touchdowns for a total of 30 and nearly 600 sackless yards for Trinidad Chambliss. It was a great year. You would look at that and say, yeah, Trinidad Chambliss is probably the alpha dog, probably the MVP of what's going on. Deuce Knight has all the talent in the world. I can imagine that Ole Miss would win 9 games or so with Deuce Knight at quarterback. So that makes me wonder, is Trinidad Chambliss the actual MVP of this football team? Because there's several different ways that this could go. And it's really fun to look at it. They're in different positions, as you might expect. One of which is Kewan Lacy. You know, the argument of this football team is going to be Trinidad Chambliss and Kewan Lacy from the very beginning. But last year, Kewan Lacy had 306 carries, 1,567 yards, 24 touchdowns on the season. He was one of the best 10 players in college football and was a finalist for the Doak Walker as a redshirt or as a sophomore. Kewan Lacy is a star. Ole Miss brought in, though, a bunch of running backs designed to take a little bit of his workload off of him. So Ole Miss is going to be more talented in the backfield, but Kewan Lacy might not get the 306 carries he got a year ago, which means his touchdowns are going to go down, which means his yards are going to go down. So is he the MVP of this football team? The other is Lucas Carneiro. Look at his numbers for field goal, 31 of 35. He hit a 58-yarder. He broke the Sugar Bowl record for the longest field goal on back-to-back field goals. He broke the record for the Fiesta Bowl for the longest field goal. He was 5 of 7 over 50 yards. When you get to the 40-yard line of a football game, you can almost count on 3 points. It's amazing. He's the best field goal kicker in the entire country. Does that provide enough to make it to where it's a little bit easier on a Trinidad Chambliss, where you only have to get to about the 40-yard line of the game? Is he the MVP of this football team? You go over to the defensive side of the ball, there's Suntarine Perkins. 81 tackles last year, 4.5 sacks, 12.5 tackles for loss. He played more linebacker over the year, had an interception that he was able to pull. His sack numbers dropped down considerably, but a lot of that had to do with what Ole Miss was doing with Suntarine Perkins. But make no mistake, he's a spiritual leader of that defense and of this team. He is not an extremely vocal person. He's an extremely quiet person if you talk to him. But Suntarine Perkins makes it to where he raises the game of the people next to him, because the other team has to account for this player on every single play, or it could get sideways on them. And then there's the Sugar Bowl defensive MVP, Will Echoles, 68 tackles on the season, 5 sacks, 11.5 tackles for loss, 4-3 technique. Somebody that is going to be called on to be this year's team's Walter Nolan. Will Echoles is the guy that is going to attempt to put that crown on. This defense has a chance to be elite, to be as good as the 2024 team. A lot of that depends on the ability of Will Echoles to take that next step to become that Walter Nolan player that you're just guaranteed that he's going to be double teamed every single play. Those are 5 players with legitimate claims for most valuable player on this Ole Miss football team. The point of what I just said is this team is not just Trinidad Chambliss. There is a lot around him at the moment. At running back, at defensive line, at linebacker. Whenever you look at what is necessary around this team and the way it is constructed, there's a chance they're going to be very good. They averaged, with Trinidad Chambliss, well over 30 points a game last year. It could be up to north of 40 points per game this year. They're going to be hard to stop. They're going to make it to where you have to account for the quarterback, which here's the secret sauce that Trinidad Chambliss gives you. Maybe he is the MVP of what's going on, because they're going to have to attach spies to Trinidad Chambliss, which means the coverage is going to be predictable. It's going to be more simple. It's going to be set up in a way that you can be more successful. It's going to make Kewan Lacy better, make it easier for Lucas Carneiro, and the defense is going to be playing with the lead a lot, which means that's going to be better for Will Echoles and Suntarine Perkins. It is going to be really interesting to see how it all gets put together, but Trinidad Chambliss is not the slam dunk to be the MVP of this football team that you think he is, although he is very, very important. It could go to somebody else like Kewan Lacy and Suntarine Perkins, Will Echoles. Even Lucas Carneiro has a claim for that position. So it's not just as cut and dry as you think it is. Listen, this Ole Miss team has the talent to win a title. That's what we just went over. Absolutely. But there's one issue that could wreck this whole thing. We'll break that down next. You know, college basketball is nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever you're looking for. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. Pick a new team that you just have a gut feeling about. It is your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. And welcome to the 5-hour energy draft flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. And I have my number one pick for 5-hour energy's flavor draft. Listen, Chris Marlowe, who is the host of Locked On Gamecocks, he likes to make fun of me about this. I'm a big fan of grape. Grape would be my number one draft pick, and here's why. No matter which grocery store, convenience store, drug store that you walk into, you can guarantee that one of two flavors is going to be in there. And that is grape and berry. And grape is a delicious flavor. Listen, there's sleepers out there like pomegranate that can make it better if you have a sweet tooth. There's confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. But if you like the OG, you want to go back in time, berry is an option as well. There's one flavor that I would like to see created, that is cherry limeade. That is going to be pretty good, and I would really like that, but, you know, grasping at straws here. So find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. Okay, so before we get out of here today, I do want to thank everybody for watching, and please sign up for the Everydayer Club and use the promo code MARCH. The link is down in the show notes below. That'll take you in there. You can apply the bracket challenge for a chance to win some merch. You can hang out on our Discord. I will send you my invite to my private Discord, and it's a free month, so you can see exactly what it looks like. So Ole Miss has serious talent this season to win a championship. They absolutely do. But there's one thing that kind of concerns me going into this fall, and it's not the schedule, it's not injuries, it's not any of that stuff. This is a real thing. And some people are okay with it. They understand the players that are playing in that position. Some people think there's nobody playing in that position. It's just going to be a hole. But I want to see what the tackle position looks like at Ole Miss. Now, the interior of the offensive line is going to be absolutely fine. The group that sprung Kewan Lacy over the last half of the season a lot. He went from having like 300 or 400 yards the first 6 games to ending the season at like 1,500 yards, tying for the school record. He is an elite running back with unbelievable talent. We like to compare him to Arkansas's Darren McFadden. It's there. But he needs the big uglies in front of him to open up the holes. And when you have Patrick Kudus and Bryson Sanders and Delano Townsend, the interior of that offensive line in pretty good shape. And Bryson Sanders didn't ever seem to have a problem snapping the ball. I think 1 or 2 over the course of the whole season got away from him. Okay, that's fine. The tackle positions are important. And Terez Davis at left tackle, he started as a true freshman at Maryland before he transferred to Ole Miss, and then he kind of got lost in the injury chaff that happened. He was behind Diego Pounds and Jaden Williams and those guys, so he just kind of sat. He kind of fell in the same place as Devin Harper. Good players, they just were a little bit behind. On the right side, Ole Miss got Kewan Lacy from LSU, which is the top-rated signee, if you believe the ratings on the signees. And also they brought in Tommy Kinsler from Miami, somebody that was in position. He was going to play a good bit this year. So those offensive linemen are interesting. Connor Hawes was talked about just as much last year as Devin Harper was. He is somebody that I expect to take a step. And Cooper Johnson, don't forget about Cooper Johnson. He transferred in the fall. He was that weird one. He came from Iowa Western Junior College. He was an All-American offensive lineman from Omaha, Nebraska. He is somebody that came in late. He was never going to play last year, but spring's going to be increasingly big for him. So that's 5 players plus players that got signed like Emmanuel Tucker and all that could move towards the front, but you have to find 2 consistently. Terez Davis and Kewan Lacy. Whoever is playing on the outside, you need 2, and you need consistency. Because if not that, the ends in the SEC are going to find a way to get Trinidad Chambliss. I know he is a really good player, and he is really good when the pass protection breaks down, but the ends coming around the end, that is their most athletic player, you need to be able to slow that player down. That is the difference, in my opinion, between 8-4 and 11-1, the tackle position. So if you're looking for that one fatal flaw that can do you in, it is the tackle positions being inconsistent for Ole Miss in 2026. That is something you need to pay attention to, and we'll see exactly what that looks like. Anyway, thank you for tuning in today. It's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk spring football, college baseball, recruiting, all of that stuff as it starts to heat up in this offseason, getting ready for a football season that has all the makings of being really fun. We're on all the social channels as well. Subscribe, follow the show on your podcatcher or whatever yet, and just so you subscribe and get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. You can get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonolemist.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Football or Locked On SEC. Both are really good options. Hotty Toddy, everybody. We are actually working on getting me to Oxford at some point during spring football. More on that as it develops, but we are trying to make it happen right now. So if you're interested in the show, you want to do a little bit of a meet and greet, we are going to be there for an extended period of time, a couple of days in Oxford, Mississippi, potentially in April. So just letting you know about that. Anyway, Hotty Toddy, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. This has been the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.